How many of you out there can say that you have a centralized, approved application inventory for your business? Not many of us can, and if we do, it's a very loose inventory because it's probably not all inclusive of the applications in use by users across the organization. And this isn't really our fault. It's very hard to maintain the software inventory just because of SaaS tool proliferation, ease of use of users signing up for those tools, being able to port over company data. But inherently, this brings a lot of risk to the organization between data exfiltration to vulnerabilities of those applications that aren't really secure, and much more that can lead to a lot of breaches and exposure of risk to the organization. So I wanted to create this little mini series here around software application inventory, really control 2 with the CIS controls. And we're gonna unpack in this series all of the layers of protection that you can use with Microsoft 365 native tooling that can actually level up your security around the applications in your organization today. Before we dive into today's content, just a quick introduction for those of you that don't know me. My name is Nick. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I've been creating content around Microsoft in the SMB space for the better half of a decade. Okay guys, so diving in here, today we're going to go through an overview of all of the layered protections, but specifically I also wanted to call out that we're going to be covering in this mini series first-party Microsoft solutions for software inventory control across their various suite offerings. And this is all to get alignment with the CIS controls and particularly control 2 for inventory and control of software assets. So within this is really cool is that you can actually achieve a lot of these controls and roll them out with something like Business Premium. We are going to unpack all of these, including kind of the risk exposure that these cover and how you can configure them and get them pushed out within your tenants as we go through the mini series. But I just wanted to highlight that before we dive in. Common ways in which applications today are being onboarded really look at this kind of basic workflow here. It's an oversimplification, but I believe the smaller the business, the more likely this is to occur. And let's say we just have this example where maybe somebody in marketing says, hey, this application looks really cool. It's going to solve all of our marketing problems. We should probably get it. And then they go and they sign up maybe with their Microsoft credentials because they can, unimpeded, and they consent to certain permissions or they sign up with their business email. And in doing so and going through this process, in a lot of cases, they inject corporate data. And they're injecting that into a database and a third party that we really haven't vetted yet. And that could actually be very sensitive customer information as well. But really the only constraint that we get into here from a standpoint of a checklist in a lot of cases is if we have the budget or not. Because if we don't, then we just abandon that tool, but we leave those connections in place and we leave the data within the third party. But if we do, we go ahead and buy it. And in some cases, we're going to also download the application if they have a client application locally to our workstations. So this happens all over the organization, and really the high level here is that there's no central governance. There's a lot of tool proliferation. It's why you step into an organization and see 5 project management tools in place. There's data exfiltration that I alluded to there. And then you have this risk here of this application itself either being or becoming vulnerable software that could have 0 days and public exploits that could be used in the future. So the other default considerations that you want to take in mind here is specifically when we talk about kind of this governance layer. If you zoom out on a very macro perspective, we're talking about having central tracking of a software inventory and having some type of SOP or checklist that the business uses to vet a vendor coming on board and also defines their minimum security standards, which you'll get into here. But then additionally, from the Microsoft perspective, any user can register any application by default within Entra. We'll go through that and showcase that and see some of the risky OAuth applications that have exploited other businesses in the past after initial access is gained. So that's a really big exposure here that we need to lock down. The other factor here that we come across when we onboard new customers is in some cases their users are local admins on workstations. And typically that's one we just clean up automatically right away just to say, hey, you're not going to be local admins on devices. We're going to restrict that down so that users cannot install applications by default with those admin privileges. Hey guys, just a quick break. If you're enjoying this video around the software inventory library and some of the controls that we're going to do as far as layered protections, be sure to check out a tool that I built called Cloud Capsule, which allows you to perform a security assessment on a Microsoft tenant. The average tenant just takes under 90 seconds to complete. You get this mapped to over 100 data points and the CIS controls that relate to all types of information across the various suite offerings in Microsoft, including the software inventory and vulnerability exposure that we're going to be taking a look at in future videos. So you can run a free assessment today by going to cloudcapsule.io. Again, I'll link that in the description, but that's cloudcapsule.io to run a free Microsoft security assessment. So you see on the right-hand side here, these risks that are associated with this as well too. I'm not going to cover all those in depth. You can kind of read through those, but effectively it does heighten our risk exposure quite significantly when we don't have central governance and also central protections being pushed out to the organization. So these are the protections. I always like to mention this in layered protections because we have this basic matrix of our time is obviously finite, and we need to understand what's our highest impact types of considerations, also the end user impact considerations, and kind of scaling that out and mapping that out so that we can cover our basis first and then move up to more advanced controls that also might require some additional communications to users. So within this case, our layer 1 protections that we're going to go through next week are looking at a vendor onboarding checklist or onboarding policy, vendor management policy. If you follow some type of compliance like SOC 2, they're going to make you write that as a definition. But you need to have something in place that basically just defines your minimum security standards. And then additionally, you need to have some type of central tracking going on with approved software. As you step up in maturity, this will become a third-party software itself or tool in most cases, but you can start with a spreadsheet. And I'm going to be providing you guys some sample templates you could use to get started or to basically upgrade them if you haven't had one in place today. Our layer 2 protections basically say, hey, I want to lock things down enough so that users are forced to go through an approved work stream in order to get a new application into the network or on a device, as an example here. So we're going to look at locking down certain settings within the Entra Admin Center, as well as looking at some of the things that we can see within Intune, but also just kind of monitoring for the users not being local admins on those devices. And there's a handful of settings that we'll go through as part of those protections. Layer 3 protections start to get a little bit more advanced with application vulnerability scanning that you can do across all devices that are in your Intune and Defender environments. That's something that's really great that Microsoft does agentless because it's natively baked into the OS. You have centralized app updates pushing out from Intune to update applications. And then we start to look at other types of hardening policies, such as our attack surface reduction or ASR rules that we can put into place as well, that actually prevents certain applications from running or processes from running through libraries and things of that nature. And we'll go through the intricacies there of being able to audit that before fully applying it, because it can restrict a lot of end user workflows. And that kind of leads into layer 4, which gets into both application whitelisting, elevation control considerations. Some more policies we'll push out here as well too, just for preventing applications from running on a device outside of the local admin considerations. And then we'll get into a CASB solution such as Defender for Cloud Apps with Microsoft. And that's a lot more advanced. Definitely not seen that a lot in the SMB space as far as adoption goes, but something to consider once you have these other layered protections in place. Okay guys, that's everything I had for you today. Definitely comment below with any questions you had about the video, and stay tuned as we continue to go through this video series, so be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I'll see you guys next week.